should see me here in a minute. Alrighty. All right, I think I'm up and going here. Put out a couple of messages to everybody. All right, oops. Let everybody know. Let's see here. Hopefully. All right. All righty. So I'm up and running here, I do believe. So I think I am visual. That's funny. All right, well, I think I'll jump off then since I'm live. I'll talk to you here in a little bit. All right, bye. All right. That's my check to make sure with Chris to make sure he can hear me okay. So I always do a check real quick. Oop, come on. All right. Put a couple of things out here. We go. All right. Hello, Amanda. I saw your text. What's going on, Chris? Yeah, I saw your text there, Amanda, about how you were talking about Kevin, and then Jason thought you were talking about somebody, a person. That's hilarious. Cheers to whoever is getting to have a frosty beverage. All right, hold on a second. Adjust something here real quick. Place. There we go. All right. What's going on, Mason? Yo, yo, yo. All right. Grab my notes here. There we go. All right. Give everybody a few minutes to get on, and then we'll get started. I got my little notepads here and everything else. So, all right. Mason, I'm doing your topic. You know, everybody hear me all right? That's right, Chris, you're behind. Come on now. Give it to the usual 5 minutes after. All right, Chris, cheers. So, I know the folks in Memphis and here in PA got a little winter. Are you in Arizona, Mason? Because you probably didn't know, but we got snowed on here. Oh yeah, waiting on your package, huh? There you go. All right. So we'll get a few more minutes here. I got not too many notes today, but that doesn't keep me from rambling on. So I can always turn a few notes into a longer topic sometimes. So we'll see. All right. Yeah, just like little page here, little page there. Also, for those of you who in Alabama, how was it? Well, you're further down south, so you probably didn't get any of this cold nastiness that came whipping through, which was weird because it was snowing this morning. Then it got hot. Then it got cold. and then it would get hot, and then it would get cold. So, doing ridiculous stuff. But yeah, for those of you who are wanting shirts, tomorrow I'm going to post up everybody's sizes that they asked for and everything. And just to make sure that I got the amounts and the sizes right. And then Monday I will, and then whoever they want to PayPal, they can PayPal me or pay me on the weekend when they see me. But I will go in and actually I'll place the order Tuesday because they're not open Monday. So Tuesday I'll go in and place an order. And then we'll kind of go from there. It should be, they said it could be about 4 weeks before the shirts are done. So you're in Chattanooga. Oh, Chattanooga, training there, or are you just hanging out there? X. Sorry, he's over there making noise. All right, we'll give it just another minute. So I see I got Amanda, Chris, and Mason. Hey, Justin, what's going on? So, all right, cool. Got a little group going on. If there's anybody else there that hasn't said hello, please do so. X. So, all right. All right. Teaching. There you go. Awesome. We'll have to call you Prof. Cummings. All right, everybody. It's about that time. Let's go ahead and get started. So today's topic is brought to you by my brother Mason. He wanted me to discuss socialization. So hopefully it's in the form that he was talking about. If not, well, then that could be another topic. So, and gives me more things to talk about. So anyways, today is socialization in its true meaning. And what I believe it means to me. Hey, Aunt Tim, how you doing? So socialization and what it means, and what it means has been changed or forced into meaning nowadays. A lot of people probably around 40 years plus probably remember it a little bit different than some of the younger people nowadays. But probably about 20 years ago or so, when dog parks and daycares and all this started popping up, the meaning of socialization changed. People felt like they needed to force the term or change of it to fit the narrative, I guess you could say. So if you remember years ago, all you older people, probably for the most part, like I said, socialization, well, what we did with our dogs is they just kind of came with us when we went places. We didn't take them, we didn't have dog parks. If they hung out with another dog, it was usually a friend of the family's dog that we hung out with a lot, or a neighbor or something like that. But we didn't have, this wasn't a thing back then. To me, it has been changed and has a forced change that I don't really 100% agree with. What socialization really means is, to me, it means exploring the world, getting to see things, being out and about, going places, and doing things, which include like your sights and sounds, and just being out like we do, like as in people, we get out, and we, just because I could be out eating lunch somewhere, and I don't have to be on top of everybody and doing stuff with somebody. There is social interaction going on, where the person comes to the table and asks for my order, or I say hello to the person next to me. It's not a forced situation. You're just doing it. Family and people, socializing, with family and people, like your own family, like us, the family of the dog. My dogs socialize with me. They hang out with me and my family. So that's socializing. Um, we have some friends of ours to go hiking and kayaking with us, and they bring their dog Ruger with them. And Ruger comes and he hangs out with all of our dogs. They're all hanging out and running trails together, but they're not necessarily wrestling and playing together, but they're still enjoying their time, and it's still interaction happening and socialization being done. So, all right. Any questions on that so far? Hopefully this is what you're talking about, Mason. And I'm kind of leading into mistakes and bad habits or bad results, and then what to do and how to do it properly. So, all right. So mistakes that are made. Usually, so the mistakes that are usually made is the introduction with the dog is done. The dog's improperly, whether it's just one-on-one or multiple. A lot of times we are forcing our dogs into a situation that they may not necessarily want to be in, because we have been told nowadays that if our dogs don't get along with other dogs or people, then there's something wrong with them, and they're basically broken, which to me is untrue. I just don't believe that's true. Forcing your dog to do something is like forcing your child to play a sport that he doesn't want to play, or he or she doesn't want to play. Forcing my dog into something like that is just, is wrong. So with that being said, like you said, there's nothing wrong with that, that if your dog doesn't want to hang out with anybody or another dog. So like I said, introduction is wrong. Usually if they come up where they're on leash, when a dog is on leash, he doesn't have a choice. He is being drugged up to the other dog sometimes. And with that being the case, the dog's body language is not right. And the other dog can perceive the body language as a threat. Because if he doesn't like it and he's unsure and he's wary and you're actually pulling him up, he could stiffen up. He can, and he may stare at the other dog, in which case the other dog could read the body language incorrectly. And you could have an issue. You may have aggression. You may have barking or growling from the other dog. So you have to realize that he doesn't have a way out if he doesn't want to be there. So, and then another thing a lot of people don't do is they don't have any obedience on their dogs whatsoever when they get their dogs out to socialize with other dogs. And I'll explain a little bit more about that here in a little bit. Now you have like your dog parks. I've talked about this in my reasoning for not liking dog parks. And introduction is done there. Dogs come in through that gate. A lot of times they are bum rushed by multiple dogs. Well, even a dog who may like dogs, having a ton of dogs that they don't know just rush up on them in a tight, confined area can be very threatening and very scary. So you need to remember that as well. So those are some mistakes that are made. Now, the results that can come from that is from improper socialization, or even over socializing your dog with other dogs, is other dogs can become more valuable than you. Why not? They play similar. They play alike. They're the same species. And so they're going to bond together. I've said that many times about other things, about obedience and other stuff like that, and how to build a bond with your dog. We got our dogs for us to be companions with us and our family, not to be our next door neighbor's dog's best friend or companion. That's not what they're there for. So keep that in mind as well. Like if you over socialize, as in dog on dog playing, then you are not going to be their number one. You're actually going to be second fiddle to them, and not as important. Your dog, your dog could learn to bully other dogs if the socialization isn't done right. Your dog can actually become a bully and not just be bullied. He can, if he learns that he's bigger or a little bit more powerful than some of the other dogs, jumping on them or pushing them around, he will learn that it gets results. And now your dog can actually become the bad dog. that nobody likes or becomes threatening to other dogs, and it could cause other dogs to become fearful. So, or have aggression issues to other dogs. A lot of times we talk about what can happen to our dogs, but our dogs can also cause that problem. Any questions on this so far? All right. Another thing too. So I was talking about with obedience. A lot of dogs don't have obedience that are let out there. The thing about it is if they don't have any obedience on them whatsoever, and you have no control over them, dogs will learn to ignore you. So now your come command and things of that nature have no meaning. So the dog will learn that it doesn't have to listen to what you have to say. So let's see. Mason says, is there a time limit that has to be met to socialize? We got Olive during quarantine and no one was ever around for her to meet. It depends on temperament. Hold on a second. I got a crazy dog. Sorry, he was bumbling around and making a lot of noise over there. I don't know if there's really so much as a time limit. I mean, when they're younger, if you can introduce them through the proper channels and the proper way, a lot of times when they're younger, just like anything else, it makes it a little easier. It can also depend on the temperament of the dog. If your dog's slightly fearful, it just may not like other dogs because they're scary. Now, like he may like your other dog, Jackson, stuff like that, then that's fine because they live together and she was raised around him. So, but yeah, it doesn't always necessarily mean if they're older that they can't learn to socialize, but it's easier to get started when they're younger. But like I said, if your dog's temperament or, genetics is not the strongest, as in it's fearful of other dogs and people, then there's not really a window or a time frame, I guess you could say. That just may be the way your dog's built. It doesn't want to mess around with other dogs and other people. Now, that doesn't mean that she shouldn't learn to not fire off or go crazy around other dogs and people, but she may not ever play with them. So, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If she doesn't want to play with other dogs or mess with other people, then that's her choice. Don't force it on her. And we don't like everybody we meet. So if we don't like everybody we meet, how can we expect our dogs to like every dog or person that they meet? Just because nowadays people say that it has to be that way. It wasn't always like that. Like I said, that was something that came around with the creation of dog parks and doggy daycare. And to me, it was a way to try to sell more training because if your dog didn't get along with other dogs, then he's bad and he needs training. He's got behavioral issues. So, yeah, I don't believe that. I think that's false. You're trying to push human, a human thing onto the dogs. So, like I said, that's probably genetics, Mason. That's not anything that you did or could have done. So I'm trying to say it's more than likely not your fault. If she's always been that way, then that is going to be a genetic trait that she got from her parents, and they probably have it, and their parents probably have it, and the parents back probably have it. So there's nothing you could have really done about that. If it's genetics, you can only put a Band-Aid on it and learn to manage it. You're not going to get rid of it and make it go away. So, so does that answer your question, Mason, or? All right. We'll go ahead and go. I'll see if he types up. Sometimes I know it takes a minute for things to get in. So how do you kind of introduce your dog in a socialization way? Actually, let's do this. Sorry. What is socialization? What do I consider socialization to be? To me, socialization is taking your dog for a walk with another dog, whether it's your neighbor's dog, a friend's dog, things of that nature. Um, them being on a walk together, just casually going about, even if they're not wanting to wrestle or play with each other, they're still around each other, and they're around you and the other people that are walking with you. That's socialization to me. Taking your dog and doing obedience around other dogs. And of course, doing that, you want to make sure that the other dogs are under control in some form or fashion, because you don't need those dogs running up and jumping on your dog while you're trying to get it to do training. That would be unfair. So having the other dogs under control, but doing obedience and with your dog around other dogs, that is socialization. Knowing that, but they're also learning to act properly around dogs or other people through that obedience. They're learning to, that they have to listen. You have to sit. You have to come. You have to heel. So then that way they're more under control for you. So let me say, oh yes, Mason. Okay, good. I'm glad. Thanks. I was hoping that answered your question for you. But they learn to be under control. So eventually, if you go somewhere and they're out there playing with another dog, whether it's your friend's dog and they're best friends because they grew up together playing together, that when you call your dog, they will leave where they're at and come to you. Like I said, that is very important. So, I mean, it's a social thing. Like being an obedient dog and a dog that's under control is a social event. Your dog doesn't need to be a jerk, just like you shouldn't be running around going to restaurants and jumping up and down and running around and yelling and screaming. So it's inappropriate socialization or social activity. So, well, she is socialized, Amanda. Beetle is. I mean, she has some fear issues, but she's around things. Over time, with you working with her, she's learning to not. She may not want to hang out with another dog, and she may not really care about other people very often or a whole lot. But she is no longer just firing off on dogs and people left and right. But also, with that being said, you also make sure that other dogs and people just don't run up on her, which is your job to, protect her and look out for her best interest. So because of that, now dogs and people, yeah, I may not like them, or yeah, they may be a little scary, but I don't have to worry about them so much because mom's got my back. So like I said, I mean, she's a lot different from the first time you got her and brought her home, where she used to bark at everything and run from everything and have a problem with everything. Now she's kind of going up to people occasionally and seeing them. Why? Because people haven't just loomed over her and jumped on her to say, oh my goodness, she's so cute, because you protect her and you keep people off of her. she says hi to some guy. Well, that's good. It hanks because, like I said, we have taught her. She's still a little wary, but she's cautious about it. And it's probably a genetic thing, since it's been there since I remember, since you got her as a puppy. But because nobody has, like I said, loomed over her and other dogs aren't jumping on her, she is learning that, okay, I don't have to protect myself. Mom's got me. So that's good on your part. You've done a good job with her. So like I said, it's acting proper around people, like with Beetle. She's learning to act properly around people and other dogs. Even though she's around them, she doesn't have to hang out with them, but she doesn't have to bark at them and growl at them all the time. And like I said, that's a controlled socialization, which is good. You're controlling the way she is and how her socialization is happening. And that's a critical thing for her and her learning experience. So, any questions on this? Like I said, a lot of there's probably a few things in here that I have repeated about other things because some of the stuff does overlap each other. Like I said, with your building your bond with your dog, I've talked about, being number one and not getting your dog for your neighbor, but socialization is the same thing. You take your dog out to a park. You don't want to have to chase your dog around because it's running to play with other people or other dogs, because they're more exciting than you are. because they don't get to see them all the time. So now their social activity is not good. They're jumping on people. They're like I said, they're barking or whatever. Even if it's excited barking because they're on a leash and they're barking because they can't get to another dog. And bark, 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 bark. They might not necessarily be barking because they want to go attack something or because they're afraid of it, but because they want to go play because that's more important than hanging out with you, or because they have no obedience and they don't know any better. They've gotten away with barking. There's been no guidance. So because that though, they're not being socially adequate or appropriate. Sorry, adequate. Well, I don't know where that came from. Appropriate. So, all right. So if there's no questions on that, we'll kind of lead into like the how-to part of it. And of course, some of this is different per dog and per situation, but how to, like I said before, being on a leash, and attached to you, that can be a bad thing because the dogs have no choice to leave a situation. They're tethered to you. If they get scared, there is no flight. The only option left is to fight. So if they feel threatened enough and they can't get away, just nature's tactic is to fight. If you can't flee, then you're going to fight. So with that being said, but you need to have some kind of control on your dogs where you get a hold of them. Use a long line. Make sure the other dog is also on the long line. You don't need two short leashes. That way, if they're running around or you need to grab them, you can grab the lines and you can separate them if need be without getting yourself chewed up. Because you go running in there and they're jumping on each other and fighting with one another. If you reach in there to grab them, if they think they're in a fight for their life and you reach in there and grab them to separate them, your own dog could turn around and bite you. It'd be just like if you were in a brawl and you're fighting for your life and there's people everywhere and you're swinging and punching and everything else. And a friend of yours may come up from behind you to pull you away. You don't know it's a friend. You could turn around and punch them. Why? Because you don't know who's grabbing you. So a lot of people get bit by their own dogs in dog fights. That's where most bites come from in a dog fight, is because you naturally run in and you naturally grab your own dog, thinking I'll grab my dog because I don't know the other person's dog. And what happens is your dog doesn't know it's you. It turns around and bites you. It's just a natural reaction. It's not trying to hurt you or do anything. It just doesn't know it's you. So let's see. Aunt Tim says, what do you do with a dog like Gigi, who is other end of the spectrum? She loves every dog, every human. She's not jumping on people pretty much. Well, with that, on the other end of the spectrum, her background's a little bit different. She came from a shelter, for the people that don't know. But she was still young, but she was kind of around other dogs. So dogs are kind of a big deal to her. And people are a big deal. Why? Because everybody there is, of course, when they come to your house or anywhere else on the sidewalk, they're there to see her. That's why they're there, of course. So with that, that's where obedience comes in. But if she's being polite about things and she's listening to you, then, there's nothing really wrong with that. To me, my big thing is I always want to be number one in my dog's life. I want to be who they would rather be with. Going and playing with other dogs is kind of a reward or an extension of things. If I can't get my dog to listen to me or they don't want to be around me for whatever reason, which would be kind of sad, I guess, if your own dog didn't like you. But if you, I don't want to be second place to my dog, to everything else or everybody else. So like I said, with that, a lot of times you do have dogs that are on the other side. They're just dogs. Oh my God, it's dogs, it's people. Well, that can still, depending on how they're acting, could still be socially unacceptable. If they're barking and they're pulling and they're yanking and everything else, that's that right there, that's where you would use your obedience to help try to get them under control. Is that you understand what I'm saying, Aunt Tim, or does that answer your question for you? I hope. So after a long line, like I said, a long line's great because you can control and keeps you out of the mix of any kind of a fray if there is one, or if they're running around like idiots and not listening, you can grab the leash and you don't have to sit there and chase them around. Another thing that's very important is an open area. You want to give them space. That way, if they don't like something, they can get away. That is very important. So I don't care if you have a ginormous kitchen or your big giant backyard, you need a big open area. Take them out to a baseball field. You're welcome, Aunt Tim. Take them out to a baseball field. If you don't have obedience on your dog for whatever reason, but you feel like you have to introduce them, then go to a fenced-in area, something like a baseball field. The other thing is you want to make sure it's a neutral area. So that's why you also don't want to do backyard or inside a house, because if you go to one of the dog's familiar areas, and familiar areas could actually be a park that the dogs visit a lot. So if you go to a baseball field in your area and you let your dog run around there all the time, and that's something that they're used to, that is a familiar area to them. So they may feel they own that. And if they do, that can change the way they act towards other dogs. And it also can change the way the dogs act towards them. Because the other dog, if it's a new area to them, but it's not new to your dog, then they could be a little wary. So you want to make sure you go to a neutral area to introduce them. Another thing you can do is you can take them for walks, but start out at a little bit of a distance from each other to give space. Make sure that's a neutral area. Like I said, your neighborhood, unless both dogs live there, but even if they do, they can both feel they own that neighborhood or that park. So go somewhere that neither of y'all hardly, ever go to, or very rarely ever go to. That is important. And walk. Take it, like I said, spread out. You don't have to be like, 100 yards this way and you 100 yards over there, but give some room to where the dogs can explore. Even if they are 10 feet apart from each other, they see each other. They know each other's there. They smell each other. They're reading each other's body language and what's going on. So, and then as time goes on, you can start trying to get closer and closer together with them. And as long as they're being all right, then that's fine. But like I said, that's if you have to do it on a walk, so you don't have an open area or you don't feel safe letting your dog off leash in an open area. Like I said, and then the other thing, like I said, is make sure you have obedience. It's important. Because then that way you can call your dog back. If you see something you don't like, say you're at a dog park and somebody's coming in and you don't know this person and their dogs, and those dogs make you wary, or they're pulling the owners and they're going crazy, you know what? If you're not happy with it, you call your dog till you come, you leash them up. When they bring their dog in, you calmly walk out. So, like I said, obedience is very, very, very important. And then one other thing too is match your dog's personality. If you're trying to find a play friend for your dog, through somebody, we have there's a dog, Jax, that comes and stays with us occasionally. Great dog. He's a pit bull husky mix, absolutely gorgeous, the biggest lover in the world. But Jax is built like a tank, and he has got energy to spare, and he loves to wrestle. Well, the poor guy got kicked out of daycare because he was too much for a lot of the other dogs. Well, what happened was the other dogs would get tired, but he wasn't tired. So then he would go up and keep trying to wrestle with them, and they would get agitated after a while, and then they would growl at him. And he was like, "Oh, well, that's fun too. I can growl as well." So he would growl and things get out of hand. Well, the thing was, it's not that he was being a bad dog. He just didn't fit their play personality or their personalities. Like he needs a play friend that can go nonstop all day. So his owner called me, and she was a little upset, thinking there was something wrong with her dog. And I said, "There's nothing wrong with your dog. He just was paired improperly. He needs somebody that is his same temperament, his same activity level, possibly his same size or plays the same as him." Luckily, coming here, he's got Amp. Amp is small. Our dog Amp is small. He's only 20 pounds compared to Jax is probably 70 pounds. But they have the same personality, the same play all day long, and Amp will bounce off of him, and Amp will take a hit and keep going. So with that being said, you got to make sure that you match your dogs up properly. A lot of times it's not just It doesn't even mean it might be the same breed of dog. It just, their personality's got to be just like you. You and your best friend probably have very similar personalities. That's why you're best friends. You like a lot of the same things. You do a lot of the same things, activities and things of that nature. So just keep that in mind as well when looking for a play friend. So, and then, like I said, if you've got a good, but really and truly, if you do things with your dog, you take them for walks, you spend time with your dog, your family spends time with your dog, things of that nature, don't feel like your dog has to go and have a dog friend. Why? Because you are your dog's friend. You're not only his friend, you're his family. So don't feel like people nowadays they're told that, that their dog should have to play with other dogs, because if they don't, then they're missing out. That's not true. If you're doing things with your dogs, then your socialization is happening with you. You're taking care of your dog's needs. But if you have, a friend or a neighbor, growing up, I had a friend who had a golden retriever, and I had a golden retriever. We lived a few blocks away. Our dogs hung out. I'd go over there and my dog would come, and, it was no big ordeal. They just hung out and did things. Sometimes my dog would lay over here and his dog would be laying over there. They might not even, I don't really even remember them actually really wrestling around together. They just hung out and existed together and were socially, they were appropriate in their social activities, or their, how they acted around everybody and each other. So, any other questions? That pretty much puts, we've actually run through the whole list that I have. Unless anybody else has got any questions, while I'm waiting to see if anybody has anything else to say, please remember, like, subscribe, share, please, all that good stuff. It gets, help get me out there to everybody. So that way I have more people more people's ears to talk off. So everybody that knows me knows I like to talk. All right. Does anybody have any topics they would like me to talk about? Like I said, this was Mason's topic from last week. So I wanted to, I thought it was a good topic. I thought it'd be good to bring up because, like I said, socialization has changed in the last, 20 years or so. It's not the same meaning. I feel like they have forced a meaning on it to fit their narrative of what they think it should be. And I really do believe it's to sell more training or behavioral modifications, which I feel like there's already enough training out there that just needs to be done in basic training. Why force it on there? Now, like I said, years ago, I can't recall when I was younger that, our dogs were forced to go and play with anybody's dogs. We did stuff with our dogs. Our black lab, I don't even think had a friend. We took him everywhere. When we went fishing, he went fishing with us. We went on road trips, he went with us. So oh, thanks, Amanda. I appreciate it. Well, I'd been thinking about this for a while, and it was you and Chris who really pushed me to do this, and make the jump to do this, so, and then because everybody that's here and, that's watching, it makes it, I don't know. I appreciate everybody being here and watching. So, but like I said, my black lab, as far as I don't remember him ever having, there weren't any friends for, we didn't have, he hung out with us. That's all. I guess there's not really anything to explain about it. He hung out with us. We had a friend who had a friend of families that had a Rottweiler, but his Rottweiler hung out with them. So with his family. So, even when our families got together, they didn't really give a crap about each other because why? Because they were all about us and our, and their own family. So, our black lab loved my dad and cared about him. Our friend's Rottweiler loved Sam, my dad's friend Sam. So they didn't really care to interact with each other. because they got everything they needed from their own family and from like, not each other, but their own family. So, and then, like I said, even my golden retriever, I really don't remember. The one dog they played that even was around was my friend's golden retriever, and it wasn't a big deal. He came down and hung out, so they didn't really wrestle or play together. And then, like I said, even nowadays, my own dogs, except for like X is a bad example of this, but most of my other dogs, they rather just run around. They're around each other, but they don't necessarily have to wrestle each other to the ground. So, and like I said, then you add like apparently X is very stressed over there with his laying down. It's hard work. He's yawning, but like I said, our friends Mike and Linda with their dog Ruger, they come and we've been kayaking. We did a 2-day kayak trip, and we took 2 of our dogs, and they had their dog, and they were around each other, but they didn't wrestle with each other. They either swam or they were looking to us to do stuff, to throw rocks and sticks into the water so they could swim and chase it. They weren't looking towards each other for play. They were looking to us for play. And that's just because we taught them that everything good comes from us. So makes us more exciting. So they were still being social. They're around each other. Nobody was trying to kill anybody or being inappropriate. They just rather be social with us. So, all right. Well, if there's no more questions, like I said, I do this every Wednesday at 6. So I will be hunting down another topic. If anybody watches this later or thinks of something later afterwards, please put something in the comment. I will get back to you and answer any questions anybody has. Or if you, like I said, if you have a suggestion for next Wednesday's discussion, please. I'd like to go over anything that y'all would like to learn about. So, hey, Mom, you snuck in on me. I didn't see you. But like I said, I'd rather prefer, I can always pick topics, but I prefer to go over ones that y'all, questions y'all have and things y'all would like to talk about. I think, it's a little bit more interesting for y'all if it's something directly from you than it is from me. All right, everybody. Well, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here as always. Without y'all, I would just be talking to a screen and staring at myself. And I'll see y'all next Wednesday. Have a good night.